right, y'all. So we are so excited. We have a phenomenal panel of speakers and great content to talk about. As they said, we are emerging trends in sports media and entertainment. We will start with introductions. So I'm Ashleigh Christmann. I am with Locality. I'm an account executive of brand partnerships, and we specialize and lead the local video industry. So we have a great combination of talent of broadcast and streaming, and we blend together local consumers. We reach optical markets, and Locality offers the best premium inventory of 150 plus streaming publishers as well as 400 plus local broadcast stations. So we'll introduce our panel and then we'll get started.
Hi, everybody. Nice entrance. We're good. I'm Jennifer Fromer. I'm a SVP at Sony Music Columbia Records, and my charge is to put together really amazing, innovative partnerships with artists and brands, like Raj.
Hi, my name is Raj Register. From Detroit. Lions should be here. They are not, but whoop whoop. I am Chief Marketing Officer in North America for Stellantis. So for our North America brands, that's Jeep, Ram, Dodge, Alfa Romeo, Fiat, and Chrysler. So excited to be here, excited for the panel. Thank you for having me.
Hi, everybody. Appreciate the opportunity today. My name is Carlos Padilla. I run global sports partnerships at Fortune 50 material science leader Dow. So I know everybody always wonders, like, what does that mean? So we'll get in a little bit of that today, but thanks for having me.
Hey, everyone. Rick Engelberg. I'm a partner at Maximum Effort. Maximum Effort is probably more famously known as Ryan Reynolds Holding Company, or more known for Wrexham AFC at this point. So I oversee sports for us and spend most of my time thinking about a football team in North Wales, or soccer football, not American football.
Ricky, believe it or not, I am a huge Deadpool fan. I might not look like it, but I am.
The box office doesn't lie.
That's awesome. So our first segment that we're going to talk about here is all sports and creators, local and national. So sports leagues, creators, and brands are increasingly leveraging the power of connections to local communities to drive impact as well as their outcomes. So whether it's Taylor Swift or Travis Kelce that you're watching on the big screen, the consumer values that local connection. So in fact, Locality, we ran a study for the local lift that showed those that were watching sports are 10 times more likely to resonate with that brand and have brand preference if it's localized versus a national campaign. So we're going to start with a couple questions. We're going to start with Jennifer. So what role do collaborations between sports and music talent play in expanding brands' reach?
Great. Well, thanks again for having me. I just want to say a quick shout out. My dad was a very famous sports writer. So I grew up, his name was Harvey Fromer. Look at him. He's very famous. He passed a couple of years ago. I just want to say thanks, Dad, for all your influence, because I grew up in a real sports family. I had to like sports whether I wanted it or not. I was the only girl in my family, and I was forced to watch every sport all the time. So when I wanted to start in the music industry, I came with this innate knowledge and love of sports. And it's really, really important for our artists to participate in sports. One of the things that, sports is culture, music is culture, and you can't separate the two. My first really big role in the music industry, I started out at Interscope working with the very famous music executive Jimmy Iovine, who launched Beats. And back in the day, Beats started just as a partnership with Monster Cable before Apple bought it. This is before Raj's time, but we had a really great relationship with Stellantis, whereby every single car in the Stellantis fleet, all the Chryslers, the Dodges, the Fiats, et cetera, all had Beats built into the car. So you couldn't even get an automobile from Stellantis without Beats being a part of it. We started there, and then we realized we had to move into sports because we thought, oh, well, maybe if we got into like automobiles, that would help us. No, it wasn't good enough. So we had to get into sports. And the way Beats really was founded was because we had artists like LeBron wearing Beats like around his neck, just sitting on the bench. And we really saw that like the advent of sports coming together with music is a great way we can help break sports teams, we meaning music, and sports, and on the flip side, sports can help break music. So they're really hand in hand. It's about culture meeting culture.
So our next question is going to go to Carlos. Can you discuss any innovation materials or technologies developed specifically for global sports events and entertainment productions?
Yeah, it's a lot. I think it explains really well like why Dow is in sports. So when you think about a material science company, like what does that mean? It's basically we make the things that things are made out of. And so, our company is heavily populated from a staff perspective with chemical engineers, and their job is to work on innovating material science. So when you think about that, outside of the lab, there is no better place to test the limits of science than within sport, right? So we use an example of like NFL helmets, right, for example, and trying to make them safer for the players. What happens on the football field, we take the key learnings from there to help innovate and make better materials. Same thing with motorsports, and why we're so involved in global motorsport is we take the learnings that happen on the track to create better, safer cars. We work with companies like Stellantis through our partnerships in Formula E to help figure out how we can work on the thermal management of the actual battery itself. So that's the reason that Dow is in sport. I know the question and talking a little bit about local and engaging with those consumers. We are not a consumer brand. You're not going to walk into a place and purchase a product or a can of Dow product necessarily, but you are using our products every day. And sports also helps us engage with brand owners, like some of our friends on stage here. We worked with Under Armour when Steph Curry was developing his new shoe. They came to us and said, hey, Steph really wants to have an innovative soul within his shoes. He's looking for certain properties, and nothing exists like that today. So we worked at the R&D level, really the top of the supply chain, to work with Steph and the folks at Under Armour to develop a new technology within the Curry Flow 8 shoe. A stat I like to talk about a lot when it comes to explaining what Dow does and why we're in sport. When you talk about golf balls, Dow has a proprietary rubber core technology that exists in over 99% of the golf balls that are created in the world today. So we are everywhere within sport. When you talk about music side of things and some of the artists that are on tour, in Jennifer's portfolio, you think about the lighting and the sound. How loud can a speaker play without blowing the speaker? We are the type of company that work with the manufacturers at the lighting level, at the speaker level, to help develop that next better, more efficient technology. So that's really the crux of why Dow is in sports and how we leverage the partnerships in the ecosystem to help create more innovative products.
So, Raj, similar question for you. How does Stellantis tailor their strategy to reach the local consumer?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And when I tried to figure out, how do I tie it into what Jennifer and Carlos do? And I have an incredible opportunity to bridge art and science. And my background is mechanical engineering, so I nerd out on certain things, features, technologies, but then also when you get into marketing and telling a story as to why a customer is making a decision to do something, to buy something, and many times it's what's the story we're telling first, and then what's the why buy. And so for Jennifer, working with Sony and other, organizations to help us find what's the best music. How many times have you walked by a commercial and then you stop because you hear the music and it just grabbed you? But then it has to be better than the music. It's the story. And so for me, I also have to tell a compelling story. And it's not just the celebrity, and it's not just the sports team, or it's not just the sponsorship, but what are the key things that I grab people with to say, hey, I want you to learn more. So we just launched our new Wagoneer S, which is an all-electric Jeep. And the most, I would say, powerful thing about it is the most beautiful Jeep electric vehicle to me that will ever exist. And the interior is red. We have Macintosh speakers, the sound, the beauty, the technology are all things that I couldn't have done without partners like the two of them. And for me, it's when the customer is now saying, yep, I want to learn more, now they have to get in the vehicle. And once they get in the vehicle, I want them to drive away and, of course, buy it. And so I have to be very intentional and thoughtful about the stories I'm telling, the things that I'm making sure that are why buys. And it's not just about, making the biggest splash, but it's what's making the most impact. And so that's where the fun for me comes in, because I get to highlight from a local level, what are the features, what are the things that we need to tell the story on, the how, the why, all of those things. But then when it's time to make a splash, I want you to be paying attention to me. So I'll give a plug for our Super Bowl spot. You'll see it later. But, sometimes you have to have a little fun with it, but then also make sure that you're being very delicate with the foundation of what you're trying to communicate so that people understand, how you're differentiating yourself in the market. So lots of fun, but also a lot of time and being intentional about, how we're setting the stage for how we show up in the market.
Well, thank y'all for sharing the playbook of brands and how y'all activate in the local market. So our next topic of discussion is AI and data analytics. So artificial intelligence and data analytics is transforming how sports teams and media companies engage with their fans. These technologies enhance fan experience as well as optimize performance on the field and create personalized and localized content. At Locality, we have Locality Studios, which is an AI-powered creative ad enhancement, which allows us to help brands localize their campaign within specific markets that they're airing in. So our first question is to Ricky and Carlos both. So how do y'all leverage AI and data analytics to create personalized and engaging content for sports and entertainment fans?
It's an interesting one. So from a maximum effort standpoint, like with Wrexham AFC, so much of our time, effort, energy is focused on connecting to fans at the local level, and then we have a very large global fan base because of Welcome to Wrexham, and so many of the fans have a relationship of watching us on Paramount Plus or on iPlayer or when we come on summer tour. And again, I think we're in the nascent stages as a club of understanding how do you begin to deliver personalized experiences. How do you deliver personalized experiences at scale? I think if you look at something like an NBA team, the ability to understand what ticket packages might make sense for what ticket packages are renewal packages might make sense is where so much data analytics comes in. From a performance standpoint, we use data analytics all day and night of understanding like every single step on a pitch or on a field is measured and translates into feedback of when players should, load management of when players should be playing or resting, understanding when bodies might be breaking down, what improvement is year over year. And it's like at a core for any pro sports team, data analytics is absolutely critical. I think so much of it comes down to how do you, with anything data, is like how do you make sure to deliver personalized experiences at scale, personalized feedback at scale. Earlier today was over at Gatorade's GSSI, where it's all about personalized data analytics for athletes to get better. And so I think it's just this constant, like the technology will become increasingly seamless. The thing I would say is taking a step back is like why people want to work with Wrexham and Maximum Effort is not for AI. It's for us to actually do amazing things that make people feel connected to the team, the club, the journey we're on. It's a very analog thing. And I think it's interesting in a world of, to go to a completely different direction, in a world of complete and total like algorithm, sports is pretty awesome to bring people together in a way that we all have the same shared experience. And I think, again, I don't know what anyone in here's Twitter feed looks like or your Instagram feed looks like. It's probably each one's drastically different. But if the Super Bowl was on, we'd all be watching the same thing. And like, that's a pretty powerful thing of sports. And so, I don't know, our general feeling is, so I don't know if we'll show now or later, but like we have an ad that our agency made with Stoke Cold Brew Coffee, who is one of Wrexham's main partners, that, again, is a good example of something that like I don't think this would have been made by AI anytime in the at least next couple of years. As, again, we wanted to bring people into the Wrexham universe in a fun, interesting way and create a shared experience that that millions of people could enjoy.
So kind of going along the same vein is that, Raj, I know you have an example of a commercial that you want to share as well, but how are you integrating or not AI and data analytics into your message alignment with media to optimize campaign performance and engagement?
Yeah, so I say we do it very carefully. So AI is important, but you also need to understand the human element. So where is it appropriate and where is it not? And so many times we use AI for more of our retail, local messaging where we're trying to drive home a specific message, and we can also change imagery for specific locales. But then in the instance of Super Bowl, AI is just, it's a friend to do certain things. Maybe you're massaging, but you're not changing messages. You aren't leveraging this to create the actual commercial. There's some CGI and all of that in it. So I'll show you our Rams Super Bowl spot. This was pretty fun. So this goes into partnership again. So between music, we had Panorama. We have a partnership with Glenn Powell. And here we're really just talking about the power of choice. And so power of choice for us means pick whatever vehicle you want. There's a BEV, push, people still want to do ICE, or PHEV, whatever it is. The point is that we're a company for a person like you. And then when we change the messaging for many of the extensions that we're doing at the local level, that's where we'll start to come in and talk more features, options, start changing things, based on how things are performing to really help drive the product message home. But for Super Bowl, it's a brand moment. Making sure we're clear and we understand that. We'll be measuring our results based on that. And then as you start to see the extensions over the next 90 days, we'll leverage AI to help us with, understanding what things are doing well versus not. And then not, I would say, like, bastardizing this spot and making it something that it's not. I think what I hate seeing is you see a tier 1 message and you tag it with retail, so you won't see Glenn hitting a dragon and it's like, hey, $4.99 for the next lease, right? So just being really thoughtful with how we're doing it. So a little fun. That was his real niece and nephew. Glenn is the ultimate professional. So lots of fun using some technology, but then also knowing when it's appropriate. So thank y'all.
Thank you. So Jennifer, same question to you. With celebrities, how do y'all utilize the data to break new artists, to establish brand partnerships? I know you talked a lot about with songs and different commercial spots. So how do y'all use data?
Yeah, well, first of all, I just want to say you guys just saw 2 huge commercials, one with CNC Music Factory, one with Van Halen. I mean, iconic use of music. And I think after people, to your point, Raj, people are going to walk away from those spots remembering how important the music was in storytelling. And a little storytelling to answer your question, Ashleigh, is that, and this, I know this sounds like a setup, but it's not. Raj and I really just met today. But I'm sure you all know a little song called Old Town Road by Lil Nas X. When that song came out, it was just like he was a kid sitting on his couch in Atlanta. He made the song out of beats from his sister's, sister had some old beats lying around, and he created Old Town Road on a couch. We saw the song, we were watching the data, the trajectory of the song, getting more and more streams, more and more plays. He started it, believe it or not, this is now 5 years ago on TikTok. So TikTok was in a very nascent technology and platform at the time. We saw that the streams were going up and up and up, and we were able to watch it with data, knowing that the song was about to be a smash. There was a line in Old Town Road, I'm sure you can all remember, driving down Rodeo in my Maserati sports car. We called the head, your boss, Olivier, we called the head of Stellantis, and we said, we have a song that is going to be the biggest song probably in years. He references Maserati, will you join us? And he's like, show me the data, you know him, show me the data. So we put together a whole platform and the data, and we showed him how in every market the song was garnering more and more eyeballs. And we have, a lot of labels do, we have proprietary data that measures how a song is going to impact, where it's impacting by market, what platform it's impacting on, how radio kind of surrounds it. So it's sort of like once a song takes off, whether it's Spotify streams or YouTube plays, and he made his own video on YouTube. He just took some stuff, some swipe art, put it together, and that was the first video for Old Town Road. So I don't know if you could, I think we had to take it down because nothing he used was licensed, and we had to take it, he was 18, I think. So we took it all down, and then we shot a blockbuster music video with Chris Rock in it, and I'm sure you remember Billy Ray Cyrus. And driving down Rodeo in my Maserati sports car became a really important part of the song. Stellantis gave us the Maserati, paid us for using the Maserati in the video, and it paid off so many-fold. I don't want to say twofold, 5 million trillion-fold, because the JPEG of Lil Nas X and Billy Ray Cyrus in the music video became the little piece of JPEG that was used forever and ever and ever. It was actually picked up and used in Google's breakthrough pop culture thing of the year when Nas was Time Person of the Year. That little image of Nas and Billy Ray Cyrus was in that Maserati. So that's how things just pay off over and over again based on data and how data is used to analyze the trajectory of a track. True story.
So much detail goes into commercials that you see on TV, 30 seconds. There's so much data and conversations and strategy and collaborations behind the scene to get the spots that you'll see this weekend at the Super Bowl. So our next topic that we're going to talk about is streaming and digital media. So as y'all recognize and know, the ecosystem of TV is more and more progressing towards streaming television. Streaming and digital media is gaining popularity and preference, especially among younger generations. Platforms are exploring new ways to engage with audiences, including personalized sports and entertainment content and locally targeted brand message strategies. So the first question I have is, Carlos, how are you adapting your brand partnership strategy to the audience to shift towards streaming digital content in sports and entertainment? I know you talked about your Olympic sponsorship a little bit, so maybe touch on that.
Yeah, I'll even take a step back and talk for a second, because I think it ties the AI and analytics kind of tie into that strategy. And for me, I sold sponsorships for the first half of my career. So I was selling these assets to people like myself and everybody on stage here. And it's been unique now the past close to 10 years being on the brand side, seeing really like the other side of the table in that. And I think what we've really seen from a brand perspective, and obviously the rights holders are seeing it as well because they're providing information, but with AI and analytics, we're getting more information. We're getting more specific information. With being a non-consumer brand like Dow, the brand value that we get out of our partnerships is different. We measure it differently internally at Dow. So you have your fair market value, what the rights holder said, hey, here's what your partnership performed at. This is the value of it versus what you paid. We use the data and analytics through our agency partners to say, okay, I understand that's how you value it based on your algorithm, but let us use our algorithm to show you how we value that, because our brand value of that partnership could be, and most times is, very different than the fair market value of the partnership. So it gives us more information to be able to hold our rights holders accountable and say, hey, you know how we measure this, so we kind of need you to report back in the way that we're asking for it versus how you may do it with your other consumer brands, because we're not that way. It also gives us more information to sift through to be able to make better decisions for the future. So, we can use that information to say, as we look at future partnerships, what is out there in the ecosystem that aligns with not only our company's values. We all do that with all of our partnerships. You have to align with the company's values, right? No different than relationships in your personal life. You're going to align better with those that align with your personal values. No different on the brand side, but also being able to look like over the horizon to say, what else is out there? What is on the forefront that maybe we're not involved in that we should be involved in? And around the streaming side of things, it's changed everything. I mean, it used to be we looked at social media like that was a new thing. I mean, who thought, 10 years ago that you get, additional value out of a partnership with a rights holder because of the engagement that they get on their social channels? That was a new thing. It's like the next iteration of that is now the streaming side of things. When we're going through an evaluation with our agency partner Elevate today to say, our athletes that we sponsor, majority of which is in the golf space, we're no longer just saying what brand value do we get out of them with the exposure on television or on social media. What value do we get out of them with their customer engagements that they do with us on site? But also, what is their reach on the streaming platforms? We are no longer an IOC partner, but we did used to be an IOC partner within the last 10 years. And we've seen residual, value add from that partnership, even though we're not in it anymore, because Simone Biles came out with this Netflix documentary, and all the content was recorded from back when, Dow was an IOC partner. So it fills up my inbox on LinkedIn because everybody is now asking, I didn't realize you guys did deals this big. But it also gives us value from a partnership that we thought we were done with. So the on-demand nature of streaming and the ability for consumers to be able to go and engage with what they want when they want creates additional, residual value. So we're now using that data and analytics to help try to see what's on the forefront so that we can capture all that data.
Thank you. So, Ricky, how does Maximum Effort approach creating content for streaming platforms that appeals to both sports and entertainment enthusiasts?
Yeah, our best example is Welcome to Wrexham. Anyone in here watched Welcome to Wrexham? It's going to be awkward. All right, at least a couple. Welcome to Wrexham has millions of people watch each episode around the world. Last 2 summers ago was the first time Wrexham, again, quick little background on the English football pyramid. The Premier League, Championship, League One, League Two, non-league. When we bought Wrexham, Wrexham was in non-league. Manchester United, Arsenal's in the Premier League. Welcome to Wrexham comes out and tells the story of this team. And all of a sudden, there's this fan base emerging in the U.S. And the opportunity came, and I'm like, hey, well, do we want to bring them on tour of the U.S.? And so I'll never forget the first It was a swelteringly hot, humid day in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and Wrexham was going to play Chelsea. Again, Chelsea in the Premier League, us non-league at this point. And there were 60,000 fans there, and we had a fan zone for Wrexham to like recreate the Turf, which is the bar in Welcome to Wrexham, or a bar in Wrexham that's featured in Welcome to Wrexham. And an hour before the game, or an hour before the gates opened, we had probably 6,000 people in line waiting to get into Wrexham fan zone. And like, none of that was possible without making a show to tell the story and without there being a streaming platform, or without having FX make the show and a streaming platform of Hulu for people to be able to discover it and fall in love with it. And now every week there's people that find their way to Wrexham to go to matches, and I think we're like the 8th most popular team in the UK at this point, and on the brink of fingers crossed promotion again. But again, streaming opened up that, and streaming let the show build and find time to find an audience. And there's someone today, like United Airlines, our front of kit sponsor, formerly TikTok was originally that. TikTok, like United is showing Welcome to Wrexham on their flights. And the irony of that to me is when you start watching Welcome to Wrexham on their flights, TikTok is the front of jersey sponsor at that point, and like you have to make it to season 3 before United becomes a character in the show. And so again, streaming opens up the entire world of possibilities. The flip side of that is streaming has endless things, and it's tough to find an audience. Like every team has approached us on how we made Welcome to Wrexham, and like it's pretty straightforward. You have one of the best TV creators ever, and Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds want to go make a show and be part of it and tell a great authentic story. If you don't have that, you still can find an audience. But I think Starting Five, the NBA show, was one that I was, in my former job, I was CMO at Vistaprint. Back to your example of the Simone Biles piece, like Vistaprint's sponsorship as a jersey patch sponsor for the Celtics ended after their championship. Well, Starting Five dropped at the beginning of the season. It's nothing but Vistaprint throughout it. And there's another like Last Dance type show for that. It's like the value partners can get with long form content streaming, like it extends those relationships. How that gets balanced over the years will be an interesting thing. But yeah, it's it's a unique environment for streaming right now. But it's funny, again, anyone that has a kid that's learning sports, YouTube is how they're learning sports. Like, and it's just weird to think like ESPN's awesome and I love it, but like Bucket Squad is my 9-year-old's most important sports channel, and like I don't know, I don't see their logo in the logo garden at this point of potential partners because like it's a YouTuber. And like they're turning, and so it's just interesting watching streaming proliferate and like reaches like almost like 4th generation of streaming. That's really exciting, and I don't know, it's I'm a big fan.
Thank you. We call that younger generation, like you mentioned, the 9-year-olds, cord nevereds. So they never had a TV that was plugged in. It's always cordless. So anyways, next we have Raj. I have a question for you. So to grab the attention of younger generations, how does Stellantis ensure that their collaborations with celebrities and/or athletes, entertainment creators, how are they effectively integrated into digital marketing strategies?
Yeah, I would say very holistically. She mentioned Olivier, who's our global CMO. He is probably one of the most disruptive game changers, in the industry from the standpoint of seeing a vision. So for us, attracting younger audiences could be doing an integration in a music video and leveraging one of our vehicles to be in a place where you may not expect us, or having a product placement in a movie like a Jurassic Park. But then not just stopping there, how are we leveraging influencers and how are we telling complete stories? So not only from the music to the product to where we are, what are those key moments? So Beyonce Bowl was one where we said, okay, we need our Jeep Wagoneer S Spot, Beautiful Things Get Dirty, it has to play there. And so having some flexibility in our media spending and buying is also important. So we have our upfront, so we're locked into certain things, but we also leave flexibility for some of those more powerful moments. Streaming is the way of life. My kids, we have TVs all over, and they sit there and watch it on their phones. And so how can we make sure that we get the content in the right way, in the right place, but do it in a unique way where they aren't being sold something? And so my kids now notice certain things. There's an influencer on YouTube, and I'm not going to say his name because I'll get it wrong. But my son said to me one day, "Mom, I want to go to Walmart." And I'm like, "We don't even shop at Walmart. How do you know what Walmart is?" And he's like, "Well, X kid, this is where he shops, and this is where he gets all his things, and these are where his toys are." And I'm like, wow, that's powerful. So when I think of my job, I don't think of what do I think is cool. What do the younger generations think is cool? Like, how do we place things? How do we do things where they're noticing and we aren't pushing it on them? How are we telling stories and making sure that they're a part of it and not us pushing things down? And so I call Olivier the 60-year-old millennial, because we can have an idea, we can have a thought about music or something else, and he's like, okay, maybe let's figure that out. And so when you are in an environment where creativity comes first, and then you say, okay, well, obviously we've got a great idea. Now, how do we bring it to fruition? How do we make sure that it performs? How do we get the feedback? And then also be okay if the baby's ugly and you have to change it, right? And so there's been times where you don't necessarily win. You think something is great and it's not, but then you need to be agile and be able to pull it back and then say, okay, well, what things worked and how do we do this better the next time? Will Smith just came out with a music video and we used one of our vehicles in it. And you know, there was a lot of back and forth, and I'm like, should we do this? Should we not? And then when it came together, and I showed my kids, and they're like, okay, that's cool. I see the Wagoneer, and I'm like, okay, I did a good job, right? So when you are thoughtful about your audience and you listen to them, you give them what they want, you treat them how they want to be treated, not how you want to be treated. From that standpoint, that helps us with bringing, and I talked about the art and science. I have every data analytical model that anybody could ever imagine. But what I appreciate is being able to bring the human, the brain. There's a lot of smart people. We should be taking those things, bridging them together, and then coming to market with the best version of ourselves, regardless of if it's local, national, if it's multicultural, if it's general market. We should be taking all those insights and being very deliberate with how we go to market. And so that's one thing that I try to do every day, and I appreciate about being in an environment where I can do that. But as marketers, it's our job to do our due diligence and not believe that we're marketing to ourselves, because when you do that, you lose. So I wouldn't have thought 10 years ago when Netflix was inching along for certain things, they've blown up. Why not take over, certain moments? Why not be a part of it? But in a world when there's full of chaos, then how do you bring order to it? How do you understand which things are important and not peanut butter spread everything all over? Just make a few big bets, own it, and then it's yours.
Thank you. Last and final question would be to Jennifer. So if you can, how does Sony ensure that the partnerships that you have with artists in collaboration with the sports athletes, how do you ensure that it's going to reach fans in the right way?
Yeah, I always think about this like heat meets heat, right? So if an artist is hot, then they're going to partner with the right sports team that's hot. It doesn't mean that we're not going to be like working with teams that don't make sense. And a lot of it is to go back to your point of view, a locality type thing. So for example, Leon Bridges, one of our artists, is actually down here. He's doing GQ tonight. If you guys want to go, actually there's no room on the list. Sorry, but I can't even get it myself. Just kidding. So he's a huge Mavericks fan, and he actually launched a clothing capsule collection with the Mavericks, which is pretty cool because they knew he was a fan. He was at the games all the time, and we did a really cool. And again, it's kind of like what Raj was saying, like how do we mix medias? How do we do things that are really, we kind of mush together a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a medium of this and that. So we did a custom track that he wrote specifically for the Mavericks that was played during the game, and then we did a little capsule collection where he worked with a designer on a jersey that was sold at the stadium on that day and gifted to influencers. And we actually, for his last album release, we did an influencer kit that we took the music and some cool hand-picked items and curated from Leon with this Dallas Mavericks jersey and sent it to influencers. And then in turn, guess what the influencers did? They posted the Dallas Mavericks jersey that was custom created. So everything kind of goes hand in hand, and we make sure that anytime we do a partnership with the sports league or a team, that it is very authentic and it makes sense. Like we're not going to pair Joey Badass, who's a diehard Nets fan from Brooklyn, with the Celtics. That would be the kiss of death. So we make sure that everybody is sort of like aware aligned. We're working on something really interesting right now called Rookie Exchange with the platform Overtime. Are you guys familiar with Overtime? So thanks, everyone. So we are doing something called Rookie Exchange, which is a Freaky Friday type of thing where we're taking a rapper, an up-and-coming rapper, with an up-and-coming baller, and we're doing a day in the life series. And it's going to be really interesting because it's like the artist has no idea what it's like to train like an athlete. Conversely, the athlete has no idea what it's like to sit in the studio we don't know what they're doing in there. So so it's going to be really interesting. But what I'm most excited about this program is hopefully we're working toward doing it with the WNBA, so there'll be some female athletes and rappers as well. So.
Well, thank you. You mentioned Dallas. Us Mavs fans are devastated we lost Luka. It's awful. But anyway, so that's it. That wraps up our panel. If anybody has any questions, we appreciate all of y'all's times and wonderful insight. And those going to the game, be safe on Sunday, and hope y'all have a good rest of your weekend.